Hi, good morning. You hearing me okay? Not too much feedback. Well, welcome everyone and good morning. Thank you for, just get myself sorted here with the clicker. So the topic for today is, let's see, how does this work? Is it just, ah, what should you expect from your TLD registry services provider? But before I get into the topic of today, I want to just explain a little bit about who we are and why am I here to even discuss on this topic. um, have to do this one. So, Tucows. We're known as being the biggest internet company you've never heard of. And I noticed that there are not so many young people here that most of you probably do know who Tucows is, but there might be a few of you. And I wanted to share with you a little throwback to what Tucows is and our old logo of two cows. And the real reason for our name is, of course, the ultimate collection of Winstock software. Not anything to do really with the animal, but we love this. And I do like to remind everyone here about our long standing because Tucows has been around, which now, like this logo looks like ancient history, but it does feel like 1993 feels pretty ancient history in the scheme of things. And today, our main strap line is about making the internet better. So here we are later. We are now Tucows with a more modern logo with three main businesses that we operate. One is which probably people here in this room know, which is Tucows Domains, which is our leading global provider of wholesale and retail domain registration services as a registrar, of which we have four main registrars: Enom, ASCIO, EPAG, and our open SRS brand. We now manage around 24 million domain registrations on the registrar side. We also have this platform service brand, a separate company under our brand, which is Wavelo, which is a software provider for the mobile communication sector. And really, where we're working at the core of the internet is with Ting, where we're providing broadband fiber to the home in mainly North America. Just a few numbers to explain a little bit about Tucows. We have had a long-term history of driving revenue. With CCTLDs. I worked with .LA since 2001. And then I moved on and worked with Central Lake for about 7 years. And I found myself at the Uni Registry, which was then acquired, as then it was called UNR in 2001. That's how Tucows became a registry services provider. And what we bring is 10 years of running and operating ICANN GTLD services, GTL services. And we have happily to confirm, all our technical and engineering expertise have stayed with us to this day. We were operating around 23 GTLDs at the time of the acquisition back in 2021, but today we have more than 50 TLDs on our service. And we are well experienced in delegation. Our platform is all custom built and it's scalable, compliant, and full offering of registry services. We also like to support our customers with account manager support, and we have a large expert support channel. One of the key things that we'll talk about later is our registrar distribution, and we continue to grow our registrars on our platform. just wanted to highlight a couple of recent success stories. In 2024, we were awarded with our Indian subsidiary company, the contract to manage as the technical service provider for ICANN of India. Also, we were awarded this year the RFP award for Radix, and we'll be migrating all the Radix TLDs to our platform later this year. And it's a very exciting project for us, where we've now grown from about 500,000 domains under management when we were acquired, and we're hoping to be around 16 or 17 million by the end of this year. And we're confident of our ability to manage and scale these operations. So let's get back to the topic of today. That's my brief introduction. What should you expect from a TLD registry provider for the next round? And what's happening, as you heard from ICANN yesterday, if you were in this part of the room, ICANN is doing an evaluation for registry service providers who are their RSP evaluation. Now, we're also undergoing this at the moment, and what ICANN is doing is evaluating us as a company, looking at our legal, our compliance, doing the background checks on who operates and manages, how we manage ourselves. They look at things of our code of conduct, looking at conflicts of interest. We do security and background checks. All this is to, if you're thinking about the next round, to make it a shortcut way so you don't have to do all this, because ICANN has carried out these checks. Now, what else is the other part of the ICANN evaluation is about the actual key functions and what does a registry operator do and what does the RSP do. And mainly the key functions here, if you don't know, it's the operating the domain registry database. We have to perform and we manage the data escrow, which is one of your key obligations of a registry service provider. We have to manage the RDAP protocols, the EPP connections, so registrars can buy, sell, register, renew domains. And ICANN covers these in the evaluation that we're undergoing. This also includes the active testing of our platform, the monitoring and compliance capabilities we have, and deals with other obligations that we'll be having to perform in future, such as monthly reporting and access and our security protocols. And there's quite a deep and extensive implementation that most companies will have had to go through in order to get their ISO 27001, which covers information security management. So that's all what ICANN has to do. But when you're actual, what else should you be looking at as a potential GTLD operator? Not just what ICANN does, but what else will you be looking at if you're a registry operator? And this includes managing Sunrise. TMCH is your trademarks clearinghouse, claims notice periods, abuse monitoring and mitigation, IDNs, internationalized domain names, other services like registry lock, label blocking, and verification services. These are all services that our registry operator customers have today that we help them manage. But other things for you to think about if you're a next round GTLD operator is to think about how are you going to manage your RRAs? How are you going to ensure that your registrars have fair and equal access to the registry? How are you going to manage 300 potential registrars signing your agreements and getting access to your registry? We're looking at automating these. We have API access. We need to be able to provide you with deep analytics and information and reporting and monitoring, of course. Now, going back to the ICANN valuation, ICANN also includes evaluation about DNS and DNSSEC. Yesterday, you heard from ICANN about the 400 applicant guidebook pages that you need to read if you're going to apply. If you're successful in your application and you're granted a registry license, you'll be entering into a contract with ICANN. That contract includes, I don't know, it's probably like 168 pages long, similar to today's registry agreement. And that includes a lot of technical specifications. That also includes things like DNS and DNSSEC. And most registry operators won't really want to know how to manage them or do them themselves, and they will want to have a good technical partner to manage these. This is also what ICANN is evaluating, to go through and check on our compliance and how we're able to deliver these critical services that are part of your registry operations that will make the domain names work on the internet. For getting feedback, you can put the headphones on, then you won't hear our esteemed colleagues on the other side of the room shouting over me. The last item here is this proxy RSP, which is part of the jurisdiction-specific registration validation. This also is being evaluated by ICANN. But what else, if you're a GTLD, operator, don't fall off the stage, Raedene. What else do you want to think about when evaluating these issues that ICANN will evaluate beyond what ICANN does? So questions that I think you should be asking a potential provider would include, like, well, how many countries? What's the global reach of your DNS services? Do you manage to extend to all the continents? Are you dependent on one provider? Are there risks in that? Is your service provider, KSK rollover prepared? Does the provider have deep experience in managing these critical infrastructure? How are they going to manage things in terms of compliance, attack mitigation? What kind of resilience does the platform have? Do you have support for DNSSEC and readiness? Are you able to facilitate anyone who wishes to get accreditation in China? And how would you manage real name verification in such a jurisdiction? Now I'm open for any questions. I forgot the slide that says questions. So before we say thank you, I'll open up the floor to any questions. We can go back one, if that's helpful. Any questions? Well, thank you for your attention.
I have a question.
Okay.
So this is a tremendous amount of migrations. Do you have any thoughts or comments on the magnitude of that, the planning that goes into that? I think
I'd be happy to talk about
that. That scale, right?
Yeah, it's actually phenomenal. It was are very proud to work with such an experienced team. And when we did the IN migration with 4 million domain names, we've been working for many months in preparation with good cooperation from all the parties. I'm happy to report. And on the weeks leading up to it, we had teams in 2 different parts of the world working 12 hours shifts on each side of the globe. And each of them would be overlapping at least 1 hour with the other party. And it was really like an amazing team effort. And I felt like I was like watching the moon landing because it was so exciting. And when we finally got to that stage of like after weeks of working like this, but then on the actual migration day itself, we had many people on the call around as we did our final uploads. We use some very developed tools in order to just do a differential upload. So we don't start from scratch on a day of migration. We've learned to just upload the differential from the last 24 hours. So when we were getting our final escrows and running all our data checks, we were just looking at what happened in the last 24 hours before we'd allow the registrars access. So it took, for example, with 4 million domains under management, I think the outgoing service provider who, it took them, I think, 2.5 or maybe 3 hours to get the information to us and shut down their services. And then we kicked off our side of it. Maybe it was less than that. Maybe it was 2 hours. I can't remember now exactly. I wouldn't want to misrepresent anything. And then we took over and did our things. But we were all finished in 4 hours, and there were registrations before we sent out the notices like, okay, we're live and we're good to go. So that definitely was exciting. So thanks for that question.
Now, what a feather in your cap and the whole team's. Something that the rest of the world sees happen in seconds or hours, spent months and months preparing for. Is there a post audit as well?
Well, there's always post preparations and things that happen afterwards because, again, we don't allow the registrars access into the production zone until after, because we don't want them creating, and we need to be able to start off at a clean slate with the new production environment. Yeah, and after after when you take over a service, after a service provider has been there many years, and the complications with a zone like IN and 138 subzones, there's a lot of cleanup operations in terms of making sure the registrars are connected and that they're happy and they're able to perform and they understand the minor differences of how the services were delivered before and how we're delivering them now, and what we do as a more modern implementation and a major technical upgrade, because we did all of this inside India using the all inside cloud technology, which again, and we were able to increase the performance on all levels and monitor it with the click of a button. For our tech team, they look amazing what they do. It still baffles me because it's all like magic.
Well, thank you for sharing with us how the magic happens. Any other questions? Yes.
Hi, Raedene. Thank you for that presentation. I can see the scale of things is absolutely huge, and the effort it's put into it. But just from my perspective, when you talk a little bit about attack mitigation and infrastructure resilience, is there any more detail you can go into as to kind of what that involves?
I haven't got the tech team here who are the cybersecurity experts, but we do have a number of, we have a large team who that is their specialty, and we have a separate security team to help manage incidents, and in particular with DDoS attacks happen all the time. But the main thing that we have in our toolbook is we use a dual implementation, which means it's not just our own service. We use another party, and altogether we have something like 400 nodes all over the world. So if there was an attack on one node, the traffic just gets redirected to another node. That's my first grade or primary school answer.
That was very helpful. Anyone else? Raedene, congratulations again, and thank you so much for joining us.
Oops. I was going to put the thank you back on, but no, we're done. Thank you.